7. Famous poisonings in history. These famous figures met their deaths after coming into contact with lethal substances such as arsenic, hemlock, cyanide, and even a deadly tree resin. Since ancient times, poison has been used by humans as a tool for killing. Although readily found in nature, it was often overlooked or mistaken for intestinal bacteria or allergens. Legend has it that King Mithridates VI, the ruler of northern Anatolia from 120 to 63 BC, was so fearful that he trained his immunity by ingesting various toxins in small doses over time. Today, this method is known as Mithridatism, named after him, though it proved effective for the character Wesley in the play The Princess Bride. Medically, this practice is entirely discouraged. The poisonings on this list range from a famous murder in ancient Greece to a notorious assassination where poison appeared ineffective, and finally to a recent death in which the suicide of a war criminal was broadcast live to the entire world. Socrates died in 399 BC. In 399 BC, the government of Athens put the philosopher Socrates on trial with the charges of corrupting the youth and refusing to acknowledge the gods of the city-state. Socrates was convicted and sentenced to death, but he chose to carry out the sentence with his own hands rather than abandon his beliefs. Contemporary records state that the sage, then about 70 years old, voluntarily drank poison which historians believe to have been hemlock. More than 2 centuries later, the French painter Jacques-Louis David recreated this tragic scene in his painting The Death of Socrates, 1787. Juan Ponce de León died 1521. In 1513, the Spanish conquistador Juan Ponce de León led an expedition to the land now known as Florida, hoping to discover the Fountain of Youth, according to legend. But his colonization efforts ended tragically when the native Calusa warriors fought back. It is believed that Ponce de León was struck by an arrow tipped with the sap of the manchineel tree, a plant extremely poisonous to humans. Just touching its bark causes painful burns, and biting into a single fruit can be fatal. He was taken to Spanish-controlled Cuba, where he died from his mortal wound. Charles Francis Hall died in 1871. Charles Francis Hall, an American Arctic explorer, was also the commander of the Polaris expedition, a failed journey to reach the North Pole. By late October 1871, Hall began complaining of digestive issues and other health problems, while accusing members of the expedition of poisoning him. Just 2 weeks later, he took his final breath inside the cabin. By the 1962nd, when an autopsy was conducted, researchers discovered extremely high levels of arsenic in the hair and nails that had grown during the last 2 weeks of his life, confirming that Hall's suspicions had a basis. Yet, the identity of the perpetrator remains shrouded in mystery. In 1875, at the age of only 4, Guangxu ascended the throne of the Qing dynasty, the last feudal dynasty of China. After the coup in 1898, he was stripped of power and spent the rest of his life under house arrest. In 1908, at the age of 37, Guangxu passed away, and it was suspected that he had been poisoned. Although historical records stated that he died of natural causes, it was not until 2008, a century later, that an autopsy revealed the truth. The level of arsenic in his body was extremely high. Like Hall, the identity of the one who poisoned Guangxu remains an unsolved mystery. Grigory Rasputin died in 1916. The infamous Russian mystic Grigory Rasputin is remembered not only for his death but also for the strange story of survival after being poisoned. Though an illiterate peasant, Rasputin was still trusted by Tsar Nicholas II and his family, which made him a thorn in the side of the aristocracy. In December 1916, Prince Felix Yusupov and his accomplices conspired to assassinate Rasputin by serving him food and wine laced with potassium cyanide. But when the poison failed to take effect, they were forced to use a gun to finish him. Yusupov's account of the incident helped turn Rasputin into a legend, leaving countless theories about why he survived such a deadly dose of poison. Stepan Bandera died in 1959. A Ukrainian nationalist fighter, Stepan Bandera, was imprisoned in the 1932nd for assassinating a Polish official. Released in 1939 after Germany invaded Poland, he quickly aligned with the Nazis, who shared the same anti-Semitic and anti-Soviet ideology. Bandera died in West Germany in 1959. At first, Munich police believed he had committed suicide with cyanide. But 2 years later, KGB agent Bohdan Stashinsky defected and confessed that he had assassinated Bandera by firing a cyanide spray gun directly into his face while wearing a gas mask to protect himself. Slobodan Praljak died in 2017. In November 2017, former Bosnia-Croatia Army commander Slobodan Praljak appeared at the United Nations Court in The Hague to appeal his 20-year prison sentence for war crimes. When the judge rejected the appeal, he stood up, declared that he was not a criminal, and immediately tilted his head back to drink a substance from a vial in his hand. In that silent moment, Praljak announced that he had just swallowed poison. A few hours later, he died in the hospital. The scene was broadcast live on the court's website and quickly spread across social media, even becoming a meme. An investigation later revealed that he had ingested potassium cyanide, but how Praljak obtained the poison while being held in the United Nations detention unit remains an unanswered question.